Hey there, I'm going to read you chapter 7 and 8 of my book, Thorns in the Veil. Chapter 7. Tara and Sabrina pulled into the long dirt driveway leading up to an old double-story house with chipped yellow paint. The house surrounded by acres of green stalks of corn. A giant barn that was bare as could be and could also use a touch-up. An access door to a hayloft that was closed on the barn. Fenced-in areas containing goats, cows, pigs, a chicken coop, and even horses. "Well, that's a lot of animals," said Sabrina as they parked in front of the barn. "Yep," replied her mom, thinking back to the one time she came out here with Trina when she was young, and Trina taught her how to ride a horse. Best friend my ass, she thought. She can't stand that woman anymore. Her hatred fresh as it just happened yesterday. Brian came out of the barn with a red flannel and greasy hands, wiping his hands with a cloth. A rusty tractor inside the barn. The amusing thought of Brian trying to become a farmer was hilarious. The idea of him shoveling shit amused her. Brian waved at her, and Tara tried to pretend she didn't even see him. "Be good, sweetie, I love you." "I love you too, Mom," Sabrina said as exiting the car with the duffel bag over her shoulder. Sabrina's outfit of choice was a black t-shirt that had a skull on it, and in the skull were faces of cats. Ripped blue jeans, black wristbands with her hair in a ponytail. Tara backed out of the driveway before she saw Trina too. "Hey, how have you been?" asked her father with a grin. "I've been good," she replied, not wanting to go into detail of visions of dark entities and the fact her neighbor was shot dead next door. Go set your stuff inside. Trina's in there. She can show you to your room. If you want later, you can help me feed the animals," exclaimed Brian. "Okay," she said, walking past him towards the house. The creaking sound of every step walking up the porch. She imagined one of the steps collapsing, but it didn't. She opened the chipped white painted door into a kitchen with old hardwood floors and wood-paneled walls. An unidentifiable musky smell filled the air. Most of the kitchen looked bare, with a rectangular table with a red tablecloth over it and a pine cone centerpiece. A door that led to somewhere. The cabinets an off-white that also needed touched up like everything else on the property. A loud cuckoo sound emerged out of nowhere, making her jump. She looked up at the wall to see a bird coming out of a wooden clock. A hand crept up on her shoulder and she jumped more and turned around to see who was there. "Sorry, dear, didn't mean to startle you. I can show you up to your room if you'd like," said Trina. Trina, with her blonde hair down, a white casual top, and blue jeans, wearing black and white tennis shoes. Sabrina half smiled and followed her out of the kitchen near an entry for a narrow set of stairs leading upstairs. Sabrina grabbed a hold of the railing and followed slowly behind her with her bag. The steps creaking here and there with every step. "My grandfather built this house. It has a lot of history," said Trina as she finally reached the top floor. A narrow hallway that had two doors on the left. One was the master and the other the guest. Trina opened the door to the first one. "Here you are, sweetie," she said as Sabrina walked past her, slightly smirking. "I'll let you get settled in." Trina walked away as Sabrina plopped her bag on the small white covered bed with an old dresser with an attached mirror across from her. One window in the whole room draped in a white curtain. She walked over the window, pulling the curtain back. The clouds seemed to be getting more gray and darker in some areas, as if it was getting ready to storm. The window gave view to the driveway with the barn to the left. Her dad was still trying to fix the tractor. Her phone went off in her pocket. A text message from Chelsea. "I miss you, babes," it read. Sabrina replied, I miss you too," adding a heart emoji at the end of it. Sabrina sighed and looked back down at the barn and all the animals. An animal lover she was, a curiosity to explore and pet them all. What else is there to do around here? I'd be surprised if they even have a TV. She put her phone back in her pocket and turned around to walk past the mirror, taking a quick glance at herself and her peripheral. Stepping outside, the breeze felt nice, but the smell of manure not so pleasant. She could see her dad was no longer working on the tractor and was feeding the horses, dumping feed in their troughs with a metal bucket. Sabrina walked into the rather dark barn towards her father feeding a white horse. Brian, seeing her as she walked up, "Hey, you're just in time. Can you take this other bucket down to the stall at the end and dump it?" There's a black horse in there named Cole. He's nice but looks intimidating. Don't worry. Sabrina looks down at the bucket. "Okay," she said, and picks it up. Heavier than she thought it was going to be, her arm dangling low, almost touching the dirt with it. Finally, making it to the stall, the horse was peeking through the wood railing. His eyes dark as if it was peering into her soul. She looked down at the empty trough and tried to lift the bucket high enough to pour it in there. She quickly realized it was a two-handed job and poured the feed out. The horse neighed, blinked once while looking at her, and lowered his head and started eating. Brian came down to her. "Good job. Well, maybe tomorrow we can let you ride one, maybe Cole, the white one. Down there is Chastity. She's quite the drama queen and won't let anybody ride her except Trina. We best feed the other animals before the storm comes in." They both quickly fed the rest of the animals, with Brian guiding her along the way. Sabrina petted some of the goats, and they spoke to her in their language. The sound of the chickens, though, was rather annoying, and the coop made her gag as well as the pigs. The cows, on the other hand, had plenty of grass in their fenced-in area and was content. The wind picked up and the sky darkened more. Suddenly, a funnel cloud started developing. A siren went off in the distance, getting louder and louder. "We better get inside, quick!" Brian grabbed her hand and they ran towards the house. An all-black dog was sitting in the cornfield staring at them. They ran inside and Trina was in the kitchen. "Is that a tornado siren?" Brian replied, "Yes, it is. Get in the basement quick. There was a funnel cloud over the cornfield." Trina opened the closed door in the kitchen and flipped a switch to the light that flickered a light bulb, exposing the stairs leading down to the basement. Trina hurried down the steps and Sabrina and Brian closely followed. Brian closed the door behind him, making him the last one to come down. Trina walked near a crawl space area that was pitch black, pulling a string to a bulb. The bulb came immediately on, exposing the black dog sitting there in the crawl space right in front of them, growling. Sabrina screamed, but Trina did not. What did you see?" Sabrina looked at her, confused as to why she hadn't seen it too. "There was a black dog in the crawl space growling at me. The same one that was outside earlier." Brian runs up. "What's the commotion?" She says she saw a black dog growling at her in the crawl space. "I haven't seen any dogs around here that I know of." Sabrina investigates the empty crawl space, seeing nothing but insulation. The sound of the tornado siren still going. Chapter 8. Tara sitting on the couch in the practical dark, swiping through Tinder, hitting X one after the other. She started getting into the rhythm of hitting X that she almost hit it and stopped. She smirked as her eyes fixated on the neatly bearded man with a perfect smile and wavy brown hair. She hit the heart button and got up from the couch. Ozzy walked up to her, looking up and meowing. Tara sighed. Yeah, I'll get to you in a minute. Mama's got a hot date tonight." The clock on the wall near the kitchen showing 8:20. Tara walks into the bedroom as Ozzy follows closely behind. She stands in front of her closet. Sliding hangers like the Tinder app. A skimpy red dress caught her eye. This should do. Nearly a half an hour later, Tara pulls into the local watering hole with a nearly fully packed parking lot. She opens the door to her rust box and steps out glamorous. Her hair curled, her red dress caressing her body, her black purse and overcoat to match. All her wardrobe was from Goodwill. Who would have thought? She slams her car door shut and it creaks while doing so. The moon illuminates the darkness with its crescent. Hooping and hollering of drunks and music fill the air. She walks near the bar, looking straight ahead, and snags her heel on a drain grate and nearly twists her ankle. Fuck! She gains her composure. Gains her composure and looks around to make sure no one saw that. Luckily, no one did, so she continued her way. Several people were standing out in front of the bar, smoking and bickering amongst themselves. She pushed her way through the door, and a couple of guys playing pool looked at her. A man standing there with a stick in his hand is memorized by her beauty. "Hey baby, I'll buy you a drink if you promise to let me play with your sink." She stops and looks at him. "Sink ain't broken, but next time I clog a toilet, I'll be sure to call you." Tara turns away and walks towards the table in the distance. The guy's buddy starts busting up laughing. "Shut up." The guy backhands his friend in the arm. Tara believes she sees the back of her date's head attached to a red flannel. She looks at his side profile as he looks up. "Hi there, I'm Joe," he smiled. Tara reached out her hand, and Joe reciprocated. "I'm Tara." She took off her overcoat and threw it on the back of the chair and slid in a seat opposite him. "It's pretty lively in here," Tara laughed. "You should see it on Thirsty Thursdays. The campus brats go crazy." Tara getting straight to the point without hesitation. "Do you want to get out of here? My place is around the corner. I have booze." Joe smiled. "Say no more. I'm in." Tara opened the door to her apartment with Ozzy there to greet them. Once Ozzy caught the eye of the stranger, he booked it and ran away. "Yeah, that's Ozzy. He's skittish of new people," said Tara. "Gotcha," replied Joe. Tara set her keys on an end table and took off her shoes and coat at the closet. She allowed Joe to walk into the living room before she made her attack. He was caught off guard but enjoyed the advance and smiled with a little laugh to follow. The two interlocked lips and tongues as they undressed each other until they were down to undergarments. Tara slid off her bra, slowly exposing her perky, pierced nips. Joe grinned and started kissing her again. As the two were getting dressed by the couch, Tara's phone rang. It was Sabrina. Tara only had time to get on her bra and panties. "Hey Mom, I just want to let you know that we're safe from the tornado here." Confused. "Huh, what tornado?" asked Tara. There was a tornado in Richwood, but it didn't touch the ground." Before Tara could explain, Joe was already walking out the door. Tara tried to cover the speaker, gesturing wait to Joe. "I gotta go and get up early for work tomorrow," said Joe. Tara gestured calmly towards him. "Maybe." He walked out and closed the door behind him. "Who was that?" asked Sabrina curiously. "Nobody, don't worry about it. I'm glad to see that you guys are safe. I'll pick you up around 5 tomorrow," exclaimed Tara. "Okay, sounds good. I love you, Mom." "Love you too. Goodbye." Sabrina had hardly ever told her mom that she loved her. Maybe a natural disaster and the fear of God is what it took. Regardless, she enjoyed the initiative. The night's festivities have taken a toll on her, and she walked in the kitchen. Crunch, the sound of something wet and gross under her foot. She lifts her foot, a cockroach. She sighs. "That's just fucking great." She grabs a paper towel and picks it up off the floor and throws it away. Then another paper towel and turns on the water. The water taking a long time to come out and then finally does. She wipes the bottom of her foot and exposes of it. She grabs a beer out of the fridge and snaps it open and takes a big gulp while walking towards the bathroom. She sits the beer down on the sink and takes off her bra and undies, starts the shower and hops in. The lukewarm water caressing her body while she flicks back her hair. The lights flicker a couple of times, then it stops. She couldn't tell if it had happened or she imagined it. Finally out of the shower, she dried herself and pulled out black and gray jammies out of the dryer. She grabbed her beer, did her rounds to make sure the place was locked up, secure, and then went to bed. Her soft pillow welcoming her and her comforter cushioning her blow from the world. Tara drifted further and further away into REM. A little opening in her comforter down by her feet exposed a single black spider crawling out. More spiders continued to follow until her entire body was a mass of creepy crawlies. Tara awakened and screamed as the spiders crawled off her and onto the floor. The spiders came together to make one big giant half spider and half dark entity. The thing crawled up the corner of the wall until reaching near the ceiling and turned its head to look at her. No eyes, but razor-sharp teeth dripping with black ooze on the floor. The ooze burned through the carpet like acid with rising smoke. Tara awakened suddenly to see the creature not there. She got up to see if the burn mark was there in the carpet. Slowly walking over, she looked down and was relieved to see that it wasn't. That concludes chapter 7 and 8. Be sure to check out my book, Cat Still Explicit Content and Tales from the Shadows, and look up my metal song, Inner Beast.